A delicate balance, China and India on edge. Did you know that China and India, two nuclear-armed nations, share a 2,100-mile border that remains heavily disputed? This border, stretching across the rugged terrain of the Himalayas, has been a flashpoint for decades. This single fact underscores the precarious relationship between the world's two most populous countries. The tension is palpable and the stakes are incredibly high. For decades, an uneasy peace has prevailed, punctuated by periods of intense military posturing and occasional skirmishes. These skirmishes, though often brief, have left lasting scars and heightened mistrust. The world watches with bated breath, knowing that any escalation could have disastrous consequences. The international community remains on edge, aware that a misstep could lead to a larger conflict. The stakes are incredibly high. Diplomatic efforts are continuously underway to prevent any flare-ups. Both China and India possess substantial military capabilities, including nuclear arsenals. Their military readiness is a constant reminder of the potential for conflict. A full-blown conflict between them would be catastrophic, not just for the two nations involved, but for the entire global order. The ripple effects would be felt worldwide, affecting economies and international relations. Understanding the roots of this tension and the potential triggers for conflict is crucial for anyone concerned about global security. The history, the politics, and the strategic interests all play a role in this delicate balance. Global ripple effects, why the world should watch. The rivalry between China and India extends far beyond their shared border. Both countries harbor ambitions of regional and global leadership, leading to inevitable competition on the world stage. Economically, they're both rising giants, vying for resources, markets, and influence. This competition plays out in international forums, trade deals, and investments across the globe. The potential for conflict has far-reaching implications. A war between China and India would destabilize Asia, disrupting supply chains, triggering a refugee crisis, and potentially drawing in other world powers. The economic fallout would be felt globally, impacting trade, investment, and financial markets. The world cannot afford to ignore the possibility of a conflict that could reshape the geopolitical landscape. Points of contention: land, power, and mistrust. At the heart of the China-India rivalry lies a complex web of issues, with territorial disputes forming a particularly volatile flashpoint. These disputes are not just about land, but also about national pride and strategic advantage. The Himalayan border, poorly demarcated during colonial times, remains a source of constant friction. The legacy of colonial-era maps continues to haunt the present, with both nations interpreting boundaries to their advantage. Both countries accuse the other of incursions and provocations, leading to frequent military standoffs. These confrontations often occur in harsh, high-altitude environments, adding to the tension and danger. Adding fuel to the fire is the rapid modernization of both militaries. This modernization is not just about keeping up with each other, but also about projecting power on the global stage. China, with its growing economic might, has invested heavily in its armed forces, developing advanced weaponry and expanding its military presence. This includes building infrastructure in disputed areas, further complicating the situation. India, acutely aware of this growing asymmetry, has responded in kind, bolstering its own defenses and seeking strategic partnerships with other countries. These alliances are aimed at counterbalancing China's influence in the region. This arms race, driven by suspicion and mistrust, only heightens the risk of miscalculation and escalation. The stakes are high, and the potential for conflict remains a constant shadow over the region. A century of discord, from colonial borders to modern standoffs. To understand the current tensions, it's crucial to delve into the historical baggage that weighs heavily on the China-India relationship. The roots of this complex relationship stretch back to the era of British colonial rule in India and the Qing dynasty in China. The border dispute itself is a legacy of colonialism, with ill-defined boundaries drawn by the British Empire, leaving a dangerous legacy. These arbitrary lines on the map have sown seeds of discord that continue to sprout even today. Adding to this historical burden was a brief but bloody border war in 1962, which ended in a humiliating defeat for India and continues to fuel resentment and mistrust. The scars of this conflict are still visible in the diplomatic and military strategies of both nations. Recent years have witnessed a marked increase in border tensions. The line of actual control, or LAC, has become a flashpoint for frequent confrontations. Incursions, standoffs, and clashes have become more frequent and intense, often accompanied by bellicose rhetoric from both sides. These incidents are not just military maneuvers, but also political statements. The deployment of advanced weaponry and the construction of military infrastructure along the border have further raised the stakes, turning the region into a potential powder keg. Both nations are now locked in a high-stakes game of brinkmanship, with no easy resolution in sight.